This is an analysis from Alpha Business Media.
I want you to just close your eyes for a second. Picture the engine room of the Nepali economy.
Okay.
You're probably thinking of a textile factory, maybe in the Kathmandu Valley, or a big packaging plant down in the Terai Plains. And if you've been to one, you know what it's like. It's loud, it's chaotic.
Right. You expect that hum of machinery, foremen shouting, just this constant kinetic energy of people rushing to hit a deadline.
Exactly. The classic picture of industry. But here's the thing about the research we're looking at today. If you walk into some of the most forward-thinking factories in Nepal right now, the ones that are actually making it, you don't get that wall of noise.
You get the opposite.
You get something that's almost unnerving. Silence. You see rows of workstations, all perfectly maintained, but empty.
And that silence, it isn't a sign of failure. It's really the sound of a huge structural shift. It's the sound of a fundamental assumption just breaking.
And that is the core conflict we are really unpacking today. For decades, Nepal's entire economic strategy, how businesses plan, how government makes policy, it's all been built on one single idea, that we have cheap, abundant labor.
And that idea is now broken.
Looking at this analysis, especially the report Automation Nepal, replacing cheap labor with smart bots, that assumption is, well, it's effectively dead.
It is, and the mission for this deep dive is to understand why these rising labor costs, they're not just a problem to be solved, they're a signal.
A signal for what?
A signal that the entire model is wrong. The sources argue we shouldn't be trying to fix the problem of expensive labor. We should be realizing that low-cost manufacturing, it's just not our game anymore.
That's a tough pill to swallow for a developing economy. It feels like we skipped a whole step in the process.
It does feel that way. But the thesis here is controversial but simple. The future isn't about begging workers to stay for low wages. It's about completely re-engineering the production floor with robotic process automation, RPA.
Okay, so let's get into this great labor miscalculation, because that phrase really jumped out at me. On the surface, it feels like Nepal should be able to compete on cost, right?
Yeah.
We look around the region, and it just seems like that's our natural role.
That's the first question everyone asks. You look at Bangladesh, at Vietnam, and you think, we can do that. We have people. But the sources are clear that we're missing a critical variable.
Which is?
Scale.
Scale as in just pure volume.
Volume, yes, but also density, cluster density. I mean, think about Bangladesh. They built a $40 billion garment industry, but they didn't do it just on low wages. They did it on massive, geographically concentrated scale.
So everything is in one place.
Tens of millions of workers, all relatively stable, all localized, and all plugged into a logistics ecosystem built for one thing. Massive throughput. A truck leaves the factory in Dhaka, and it's basically at the port.
Right, and Vietnam is similar. The infrastructure is there.
Exactly. The ports, the industrial parks, they just have the sheer numbers to throw at the problem. Nepal never had that kind of scale.
So we were just chasing a mirage. We thought we were in the same game, but we weren't even in the same league.
That's a good way to put it. Our advantage was a temporary illusion. And now that illusion is gone because of what the analysis calls effective labor costs.
Effective labor costs.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like an accountant's way of saying it costs a lot more than you think.
That is pretty much it. And this is where so many business owners get the math completely wrong. They look at the minimum wage and think, okay, this is manageable. I can make this work. But the real cost isn't the salary.
It's the turnover. The numbers in this report were just, 30 to 40% annually.
40%. Think about that. Nearly half your workforce leaves every single year. It's like trying to run a relay race where half your team quits mid-lap.
It's just chaos. And it's not just the cost of hiring someone new, is it?
No, and this is the scarcity premium the authors talk about. When an experienced machine operator in Burgunj leaves for Qatar, she isn't just creating a vacancy.
She's taking knowledge with her.
Years of institutional knowledge, tacit knowledge. She knows the sound that specific machine makes right before it jams. You can't write that stuff in a manual.
So you lose all that efficiency.
Exactly. You have recruitment costs, training costs, and then this huge productivity dip while the new person gets up to speed. And let's be honest, that new person you just trained, they're probably just waiting for their own visa to clear.
You're basically running a training center for industries in the Gulf on your own dime.
You got it. So we end up in this worst of both worlds spot. Nepal is getting more expensive than Bangladesh because of these hidden costs, but we don't have the efficiency or the infrastructure of, say, China.
We're stuck in the middle. Too expensive to be cheap, not advanced enough to be premium.
That's the trap.
When we talk about people leaving for Qatar or Malaysia, the conversation is usually framed as this. This national tragedy. Why are our young people leaving? We appeal to patriotism. But this source took such a different, colder angle.
It's refreshing, though, isn't it? It strips out the emotion and calls it what it is. Rational, individual level arbitrage.
Arbitrage. Like a stock trader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, put yourself in that worker's shoes. If your labor, your time, your youth is worth 3 times more in the UAE than it is in Nepal, leaving isn't unpatriotic.
It's just math.
It's a rational economic decision. And the hard truth from the source is that any business betting on that trend reversing is being negligent. The labor pool is not getting cheaper. It is not getting larger, period.
So the question isn't how do we stop them from leaving?
No. The question is, how do we build a world-class industry with the people who decide to stay?
Which brings us to the robots. But before we get to the nuts and bolts, I want to push back on the cost. Because I think the mental math everyone does is robot costs X, human costs Y, is the robot cheaper?
That's the primitive calculation. That's level 1 thinking. And if you only look at it that way, you might wait. You might say, well, I'll put off the big capex, but you'd be missing the entire point of RPA.
So where's the real ROI? If it's not just saving on payroll, where does the return on investment come from?
It comes from 2 places that are worth far more than wages: quality consistency and market access.
Okay, let's break that down. Quality consistency. The report used pashmina as an example.
A perfect example. So high-end textiles. Imagine you're a buyer for a boutique in Milan. You order a container of premium shawls from Nepal.
I'm paying top dollar. I expect perfection.
Exactly. The container arrives. You do your QC checks. And because of human variance, someone was tired, someone was distracted. The dyeing is slightly off on 50 of them. The weaving tension is wrong on another 100.
As a premium buyer, I'm not just sending back the bad ones. I'm rejecting the whole shipment.
You're rejecting the whole lot. And you're probably not ordering again next year. For a Nepali SME, one rejection like that can wipe out an entire year's profit.
And it's not even malicious. It's just human error.
It's just human error. But a robot, it folds and boxes the 10,000th shawl exactly like it did the first. It doesn't have a bad day. It doesn't get bored. It eliminates the risk of rejection. So the ROI isn't the cost of the robot versus a salary. It's the cost of the robot versus a $50,000 rejected order.
That reframes it completely. It's insurance.
And it's even more critical in FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, noodles, juice.
High volume, low margin.
Right. And in that world, packaging is a promise of safety. You buy a packet of YY, you expect it to be full and sealed properly.
There's nothing worse than opening a bag and it's half empty or the seal is broken.
Exactly. On a manual line, that happens. A bad seal isn't just annoying, it can be a food safety crisis. But an RPA system with integrated vision systems and check weighers. It measures every single packet to the gram.
Can you explain vision systems quickly? It's not just a camera, right?
No. These are high-speed sensors that can spot micro defects in a seal, check a barcode, ensure the label is perfect. At speeds the human eye literally can't process. We're talking hundreds of units a minute.
And that ties into the market access point you made earlier.
It does, because that level of precision is what allows an Nepali brand to get a certification like ISO 22000.
The big one for food safety.
The global gold standard. Good luck getting that and keeping it with a manual line and 40% turnover. But with automation, suddenly you're not just a local brand competing on price. You're a certified, high-quality manufacturer. You can challenge imported goods on quality, not just price.
That's a huge pivot. You stop fighting the price war you were always going to lose.
And you start fighting the quality war you can actually win. It moves you up the value chain.
But I have to play devil's advocate. Because this is the fear, right? Luddite fallacy. If we bring in the bots, don't we just destroy all the jobs? If I'm that worker on the packing line and a robot takes my spot, what happens to me?
It's a real fear, and it's the right question to ask. But the analysis here pushes back hard. It argues technology transforms jobs. It doesn't just destroy them. It moves work from low-skill repetition to high-skill system management. And let's be blunt, those low-skill jobs are already disappearing because the workers are leaving.
Okay, but paint me a picture of that new factory floor. The robot is doing the packing, so what does the human do?
She becomes a line supervisor. Instead of 8 hours of physically exhausting repetitive packing, she's monitoring a dashboard for 5 machines. She's managing the workflow.
Okay.
Or the manual inspector. He becomes a quality assurance technician. He's the one calibrating the computer vision system. He's telling the robot what to look for. He's the boss of the machine.
So it's a higher skilled job and presumably higher paying.
Much higher paying. They offer a career path, not just a daily wage. They offer dignity.
But there's a huge skills gap, right? I've been taping boxes for 10 years. I don't know how to calibrate a vision sensor.
Massive gap. And that's where policy comes in. The report argues that the government has to stop subsidizing ailing industries. Stop propping up the old model.
Stop funding the past.
Exactly. Instead, they propose a national automation skill fund. The idea is a small, maybe 1 or 2% levy on the import of industrial machinery.
So the machines themselves pay to train the humans.
In a sense, yes. And you use that fund for public-private partnerships. Work with institutions like CTVT to create very specific certifications, RPA maintenance technician, industrial systems operator.
So you're training people for the actual jobs that are being created by the new machines.
Precisely. The goal isn't to protect a specific manual job that's going obsolete. The goal is to protect the person's employability, give them the skills for the future.
It really feels like we're at a fork in the road. The source lays out these two futures for Nepal.
It does, and it's a stark choice. It's not a gradual slope, it's a sharp divergence.
So, scenario 1, inertia. We do nothing. We keep complaining about brain drain. What happens?
Irrelevance. Our factories struggle with quality. We can't export. Domestically, our local brands get crushed by cheaper, better imports from India and China that are made by robots. The industrial base just erodes.
It dies a slow death.
We become a nation of traders, not makers, even more dependent on remittances and imports. It's a fragile future.
Okay, so give me scenario 2, strategic adaptation.
This is the harder path, but it's the optimistic one. Forward-thinking firms invest now. They take the CapEx hit, they train their staff, and the result is that made in Nepal starts to mean something different.
It stops meaning cheap and starts meaning reliable.
It becomes a mark of quality. These firms capture premium markets, and their success forces everyone else to upgrade just to compete. You create a virtuous cycle.
But the source is very clear. This won't be painless. Some businesses will fail.
No, it won't be. The hard truth section was blunt. Factories built for the old low-wage model. They will fail. There will be displacement. This isn't a fairy tale.
But the ultimate choice isn't really between automation and keeping the old jobs.
The old jobs are already gone. The choice is between automation and irrelevance. If you don't automate, eventually you don't have an industry left to provide any jobs.
That is a sobering thought.
It is.
Yeah.
The romantic idea of a bustling, low-wage factory floor. In 2026, that's a dangerous fantasy. We have to let it go.
You know, that phrase, dangerous fantasy, that really sticks with me as we wrap this up. It forces you to look in the mirror.
It challenges a core part of our national identity, doesn't it?
It does. So here's a thought for you listening right now. Forget about factories for a second and apply this to your own career, your own business. Are you relying on a scarcity premium that's about to evaporate? Are you competing by being the cheapest option?
Because the core question is, are you building the skills and the systems for the next economy? Or are you just holding on to the ones that defined the last one?
Something to chew on. That brings us to the end of this deep dive into the changing face of Nepali industry. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
See you next time.